This is the Big Fish Cares Podcast. Big Fish Cares Podcast. And here's your host, Benny Fisher.
Really excited about today's episode. I have a friend of mine that I've been following for a couple years on social media, and then we got to form a relationship in person over the last couple years. My buddy Bryan Bercik from Hemlock Homes is here today. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
I like your story, man. You got a great story, and I want to dive right into that story. Give us a little bit about your background. Tell us where you grew up. Tell us how you became, all the way up to how you became the owner of Hemlock Homes.
Yeah, so I grew up in Finleyville, PA. It's a small town, but you know, it gets kind of crazy there for sure. We're all kind of connected in that valley atmosphere. I graduated from Ringgold. But yeah, it's I've been in kind of that construction field world my entire life. So my dad was a landscaper. I started working there when I was, 12 years old. He made me start working like 3 days a week, and every time I get in trouble from school or suspended or something, I'd have to come work for free. So that's kind of how I got involved. That's how I got involved in that.
Family never wants to pay the big dollars, do they?
No, never do. But it was, looking back on it now, it was one of the greatest experiences I'm glad I got to have. I got to work side by side with my dad and watch him grow his business at 30% every year for about 13 years. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a great education, not knowing at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, I got to watch him, move and shake and develop relationships. And, he's not a guy that's a big talker, but he's very well respected in that industry. So it's really cool to see like that legacy that he's left over there. And, again, when you start a business in the 80s, it's a lot different than starting a business in the 2000s. We didn't have the internet and none of that stuff. So, watching his evolution to become, one of the, very well-known landscaping companies was really cool. He takes a lot of pride in that.
How'd you get into like building things? Landscaping is a lot different than home building.
Definitely.
So tell me about that journey.
Yeah. So 2000, I think late 13, I think we joined a mastermind. That was, one of them coaching groups that was like, flip houses, get rich quick, you're going to no money down. And, definitely. But I look back on it and I'm like, I think it was a great decision because it made me put my money where my mouth was and get real serious about it and not, not just be like, we're done talking. We're going to do some action now. Joined that and bought like 3 houses right out the gate and had no idea about construction, subs, hiring, no process, no system, no nothing. Lost my ass on the first one for sure.
How much money did you lose?
It was like 28 grand.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot though. 28 grand's a lot, especially if you don't have like a big business, trying to like absorb some of that.
So painful.
Were you married at the time?
I was not.
No? So it was just you. So you didn't have like a family and kids to have to worry about. So it was just you. It's a little bit easier to take those risks, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Bought it in like a C-, D+ neighborhood. It was cheap entry level.
What's a C-, D+ neighborhood?
Like Charleroi.
Okay. All right. What's like an A neighborhood?
Like Upper St. Clair.
Okay.
Mount Lebanon.
What's a B neighborhood?
Like South Park.
All right. And then like a C would be like Carroll
Finleyville.
Township, Finleyville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we kind of categorize it by that, like everyone in real estate, like what areas you're buying in A, B,
like home values probably, right? It goes by, if it's a $75,000 home value, neighborhood, or if it's a $500,000 neighborhood.
Correct.
Right? Is that kind of basically the levels, right?
Yep, it's just tiered.
Okay.
Because the clients are different, obviously. The expectations are different as you go up the ladder and you get into the different price points. But started entry level. I bought like a row of houses in Clairton too. Like they don't do nothing.
You still have them?
I still do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many houses do you have? So you basically got into this mastermind. Did you do it with anybody else?
I had a partner. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were like, all right, cool. We're gonna go to this, probably a hotel conference room. We're gonna like learn something. They're gonna try to sell us a package.
Oh, they did.
Did they?
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys buy it?
Yeah, it was like 30 grand.
30 grand. Mm-hmm. Wow. So not only did you lose 28 grand on the first one, you spent 30 grand on the course or the class or whatever it is. What do they give you for 30 grand?
Just like some online stuff, and then it's they give you they do have some tools that they give you that I still use today, like rehab trackers and, trying to figure out budget sheets and automatic Excel files. But now looking back, I'm like, you could just build all that really easily.
Can you though? I mean, because like if you don't now,
if you had no idea,
but now though,
yeah,
right?
Looking back, I had no idea, not even a clue. But like I said, it's when you put your own skin in the game, like it's real now. Oh, I got to get this money back.
It's a little bit serious.
Oh, it's real serious.
And then you go losing like 28.
Oh, I got killed.
Yeah.
And then we bought one in Peters in an A neighborhood. And we did really well. We made about, close to like 90 grand.
All right. So now you got your course money back.
Yeah.
You got the first money, the money back that you lost. Now you're almost back to even.
Yeah. Then we went down the city and thought I could take all my stuff. I thought I was the man. I thought I was flexing after I made that money. And then I went down the city and got destroyed. We lost like 60.
In like the city of Pittsburgh, with like some old house, like what, Mount Washington or something?
No, it was in Point Breeze. It was like Point Breeze budding like Homewood. Not like Point Breeze South. It was Point Breeze North. So when you cross Penn, I got a real lesson there. So again, these are just things, when people talk to me, they'll be like, oh, how did you do it? How did you figure this out? I'm like, well, I went down there and fell on my face is what happened.
Yeah, lots of losses.
Yeah, I remember being down there at 3:00 in the morning painting and stuff. I had to get back up at 7 a.m., to go to work with my dad. I go, get down there till 3, get home at 4. Get up at 7, go back to work, do it again because we were out of budget. I self-perform everything, and it's a kind of a weird circle. So like we partnered with a guy who's now my project supervisor at Hemlock. So like it all's coming full circle back. Because if you can break bread with people and take a loss and you're still friends, that's real friendship.
Yeah, that's true. What lessons did you learn as far as like the business side of things go? I know
it's ego. It's ego, man. Real estate is ego driven. For sure. Like, there's like imaginary highs and lows. So like you'll get your ass kicked and then you'll all of a sudden forget about it when you hit that $90,000 hit. But again, like when you're in the beginning of like this journey, you're not understanding that, you're self-performing stuff and you're not putting your time into the deal. So really you're not grossing, you're not netting 90, you're grossing 90 and you probably net, I don't know, 40, 45. 50 maybe, if you're lucky.
And then what do you do? Just do it again. And just keep
rinse and repeat.
Keep trying to do it, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have a plan in those early days on like, oh, hey, I got to buy this many houses? Because you guys all had day jobs, right? Because you have to, right? The day jobs help you fund your because these were long-term plays that you guys thought at the time, right? You guys weren't like just flipping them, were you? Or were you?
We were flipping them.
You were flipping them. You were never renting them, right? Okay.
No, I bought a couple rentals, like I said, just a low entry level in Clareton because I could afford it. But like I was in the streets too, so like I was connected over there. But
how long would it take you to like do a house back then, like to make 90 grand or 50 grand, like
4 months?
Okay.
And having tons of nightmares.
And then and there's a partner involved. You got a partner, right? So it's like 50-50. So really that if you made 50 grand, it's really 25 grand.
For sure.
And it's over 4 months.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
Right?
It's nothing.
So it's like, it's almost like I could just, but your dad's not paying you. He's not overpaying you. So you can't.
Definitely not overpaying
so
me.
you're not, So it's not like, it's like a weird situation.
Barry. Yeah.
But that's probably like that was your college tuition dollars, right?
No doubt. And the same thing, it's, back then I didn't understand like nets and grosses and, understanding the numbers monthly, weekly. And I started looking back on it. You're like, oh man, this is just, you're working your ass off though. Like,
you were almost, but if you were any smarter, you probably wouldn't have got into the business, correct?
No.
So that's what I mean. I feel like a lot of guys, like if I would have known better, I would have been like, oh man, I would have just went and worked somewhere else.
No doubt. No doubt.
I was almost too stupid, because all that other stuff would scare me in the beginning, right? Like if I know what I know now, I would have been overwhelmed. I would have been in a ball in the corner, like crying. But because I think I took, I took that drive that's inside of it. Because all of us, I feel like, have this weird, insane drive that all these small business guys that I know that we hang out with over the city of Pittsburgh, it's like they all have one thing in common. They all have a drive. And it's like, and they all have an interesting story on how they got there. And it's never with a ton of planning and a ton of
hurry up and go.
Yeah. Hurry up and go fast.
Yeah.
Fail fast.
Fail fast.
And that's awesome. So tell me, Hemlock Homes, like how did that come about? Like,
so I got full-time into real estate when I went to do acquisitions with Urban Capital. So I went back to my dad. I was like, I said, listen, I got to put my 2 weeks in. I didn't even know how to approach him. I've been working there for 15 years.
Really?
15 years.
How many people at his company
There's,
at the time?
Yeah, so there's 6 laborers, and then I was a crew leader. So I ran half the side of the business with him, and I was like, but again, like I looked at it like my dad was 54, so I'm like, I can't wait, man. I'm gonna be too old at this point.
Gary Vee would never say that.
I was like, I can't wait. I got to get out of here. But, so I took on a sales position over there, and, it was one of the greatest learning opportunities in my life because I got to watch young entrepreneurs kind of figure out their journey. And I was able to see a company scale from about, I think it was 6 million or 7 million or something like close to 10 million in flipping houses. And I got to watch them do the EOS, and we did all these implemented things. And I started seeing business at a different level. I'm like, ooh, this conversation is way different. This is not, we got some plans here. Like, we're kind of structured. We're starting to see and I'm starting to see this tighten up, but I'm watching the wins and the losses too. I'm a very I always like to watch and see what kind of is going on from afar. And, it was really great education to see them kind of, figure out their journey, and they've rebranded and done a lot of great stuff. Them dudes are very, very educated.
Talking about Archie and Ryan.
Yeah,
I know those
sure,
guys.
Man.
I've been watching those guys for a few years. Like at the same time, I feel like I started watching all you guys.
Yeah.
Our buddy Alex, I'm gonna have him on someday. But yeah, it's been, and I don't understand real estate like the way you guys do. I'm just over here just trying to put on roofs, one roof at a time. But
it's working.
It's fascinating though to understand like the journey, right? And then the adversity that you have to overcome.
Yep.
And you have partners, correct?
Yep.
How many? 2 partners. So there's 3 of you, which that's got to be complicated at times, fun at times, right? That's it's good to have buddies going to work every day. Because when you're by yourself, I was by myself for the first 5 years. I finally took on a partner this year, but like for the first 5 years, it was all me. Everybody's looking at me for all the answers, and sometimes that can be overwhelming. It
molds well though. So how we kind of did this is whenever, me and Urban kind of separated and they did their own thing and they rebranded. I was already kind of building spec houses. So, but before that, the planning up to Hemlock was like, okay, I do not like the model of flipping houses. I don't like, it's very hard to scale. You got to buy it at the lowest point, which I'm great at. That's what I did for a living for a while. But you got to find the contractors that can work for a subpar level of price to get it done and then get it to the finish line, which creates its own problems.
Right.
Unless you have an internal team, which I watched Urban do and
to clean it up
for sure.
Yeah.
So I started looking at the market and I'm like, okay, where is real estate most vulnerable? So I'm like, all right, well, there's 0 builders that are my age, and I mean there is 0. I mean, I'm the youngest dude that is building as many houses as we are now, but at the time we didn't think we were going to do this. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, man, building might be cool. And I know, I'm like, building's scalable. So one of my best friends from high school, John Cushy, who's an excavator, introduced me to his cousin Ryan, who was a builder for Heartland and S&A and all the big companies for about 22 years. He built down south, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Carolinas, building 300, 400 unit multis. I'm like, damn, this dude knows his stuff. And he's 10 years my age. So I'm like, all right, this dude has the discipline and this guy has the education. And all right, cool. What can I bring to the table? How can I bring value? I'm like, all right, cool. So I learned all this stuff over at Urban. I'm like, all right, I'll bring the operations and I'll bring the money. So I'm like, we sat down at a restaurant in South Park and we sat at this booth. And for 3 months, we started formulating a plan. Like, okay, what are we going to do? Where are we going to target? What can we do? Finally, we decided to buy 2 lots in South Park because I lived there and I knew the area and I'd already done a bunch of flips there.
The worst case scenario, move in.
That's it. No doubt. No
Sell
doubt.
your house, right?
No doubt. So we built. So I went to Chris Masuka, which is absolutely my mentor.
He's like the big money guy, right? Like
dude.
I've never met him, but I always hear if you need money, go to Chris.
Greatest human being on earth.
Really?
I love that guy.
Wow.
I love that guy from
Chris
the bottom of my heart.
All right.
But yeah, we went to him and because I went to all the other lenders and they're like, we don't fund new construction. It's not tied to anything. There's dirt. Like we're not going to give you $500,000 tied to dirt. And I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So I went to Chris and I've done a couple $1 million in deals with Chris and paid it back. So I had a good relationship. But he was like very skeptical as well. He's like, dude, I don't fund new construction. I don't know new construction. I don't know nothing about this. He's like, you've never even built a house. He's like, your partner has, but I don't know this guy. He's like, I know you. And I'm like, all right, man. So then we kind of kept going back and forth, and then the deal fell through at one point, and I called him like, hey, Chris, sorry, man, like it's not going to work out. He's like, oh, this is great. You know, my lenders, all right, cool, we're good. Called him back 2 days later. I was like, hey, man, do you think we'll still fund that? I got it back together. He's like, oh, man. But no, he ended up funding that, and he gave us, I think it was like $550,000 for the first two. And I'll tell you what, man, I've never seen something so crazy in my life. When you start to see construction on that kind of level, like, again, I put a ton of faith in my partner. Like, I don't even know you that well at this point. We're just kind of figuring out our relationship, and I'm putting my entire life on the line here, you know, because I'm attached to all this debt and all this stuff.
Yeah, because you guys don't have a buyer, right? Like, it's like you're building. It's like you're building there, right? You're building a house,
and I'm praying that his budget numbers are correct because I don't know nothing.
And I'm sure that Chris, I mean, as nice as guy Chris is, he doesn't loan money out at 2, 3, 4%.
No.
Right?
No. Big money. Big money. So
you got to make it all work.
Oh, dude.
And it's almost like you don't even necessarily have to make a ton of money probably on that first one. You just want to get one under your belt so you can learn the process, right? Pay everybody back, make sure the new homeowner's happy.
It's like anything else in real estate. When you first get into it, you're like, all right, I'm going to make a shitload of money real quick. And you're like, no, you're fucking not. It's not close. Like, you're not even going to, you're going to work for it. You're going to earn it. But when I knew that this could win is when we got into framing. So when you start seeing these dudes framing a 2,700 square foot house and it goes in 8 days, you're like, oh my God.
Are they like Amish guys?
Yeah. We bring
the bowl cuts.
Yeah. We bring them down from Middlefield, Ohio.
There you go.
Yeah. We got some really good framing guys, but it's when you start seeing that, you're like, oh man, this really might be scalable. Holy shit. I've never seen anything like, my partner told me all about it, but I've never seen it. But yeah, we got to the end and it went really well. It did. It was a learning experience for me because I've never done it. It was a learning experience for Steve because he's never done it. Ryan, he's unemotional to it because he's built 300 houses or 200 houses, you know, and I'm like, oh, this is the craziest thing to me. But we got taught a really, really, really big lesson in the end. When we went to go sell them, the first question that everyone has when they walk through the door is who's the builder? Well, at that time, it was just like something Holdings, you know? And they're like, who the hell is BBSP Holdings? We don't know who they are. They're not Ryan Homes. Like, Ryan Homes is brand. Yeah. You know, Nike. And them.
Did it look like a Ryan home?
Yeah.
So it looked like one of those just regular rectangle homes, 2 stories, you know, like you see like a whole allotment full of them, right? Yep. Is that what you call a spec home?
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. we built 2 spec homes side by side, different colors, different variations, different floor plans.
Because you just are taking some basic drawings and just making it, because you don't want to get too crazy with it.
No, because we didn't know the numbers, you know. So like we're trying to like hopefully stay in budget, but we did. We really did. We stayed in budget, and it actually went really, really well until the very end. We couldn't sell them because the people.
So did you hire a real estate agent? Yeah. You hire a real estate agent. Yep. You just list the house.
Listed both of them,
and then the question is, who built it? Because everyone wants to know who built it. And the reason I'm assuming they want to know is because they want to know what kind of quality is it? Like, what can I see? You know, like,
and warranty. So it's like, if something goes wrong, are these guys going to be there to fix this? We don't know these guys. It's a different thing.
Because in real estate, usually once you close, right? Like when I saw you in my house, like there's no warrant. You know what I mean? Like it's over, right? Yep. Like you're responsible if the sewer breaks tomorrow. Yep. Right. But with new homes,
it's massive.
There's typically like a warranty process, right?
It's huge. It's long. So it's by law that we have to warranty that house bumper to bumper. But there's a difference now between maintenance and warranty. But we can get into that later on. But it's 1 year, 365 days from move-in, or 365 days from built. And then it's 2 years behind the walls, and then 10 years structurally, which is floor systems, trusses, and foundation. I mean, you are holding a massive amount of liability, especially when you do it on scale. I mean, we talk about, you think about Ryan Homes. I mean, they build like 7,000 homes a year. You know, so they're just holding insane amount of liability, and you're gonna have some duds. It's 7,000 houses a year. You know,
where like the structure falls apart.
3 of them fell over the hill recently in Canonsburg.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Like over the hill.
Mm-hmm. But that was the developer's fault. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into.
But that's not badass 7,000 though. But their margin, you guys' margins have got to be a lot thinner, in home building. Yeah. So get back to the sales process on those first houses in South Park. How did you end up tell me the story. Like who's the first customer? How'd they buy it? Well, did you have to go in? Did the real estate agent probably could only do so much, right? Did they have to get you involved?
Open house, after open house. Did
you have to get involved and be like the face?
A little bit. It taught me a real good lesson though about brand. So then after that, it was a big shift. But it's funny because the people that bought those houses, I'm really good friends with them now because I live in South Park, so that my kids go to school with them. So we actually go over there and hang out, and they love their houses. They're like our biggest advocates now. So
good.
You start understanding being the authority and the customer service side, and taking care of the people that take care of you from the very beginning.
You're starting to sound like the Big Fish Contracting Company now.
Yeah.
But with a lot more trades involved. Holy cow.
So many, man. But it really, like, the light bulb went off. I'm like, okay, it's branding. Like, it's really about branding and having that, big brand that people can trust.
So when you guys were sitting up drawing these plans up at the restaurant in South Park, there was no ever talk of like, oh, we want it to be called Hemlock Homes, and we want to have a cool logo, and we want a showroom, and we want people to come in and pick out selections. It's like we're just going to build houses kind of like on the like underground almost, and then just boom, we'll just have some agent sell them, and then we'll just keep doing that. We don't need like all the retail, commercial, marketing side of it, right?
We intended to build specs forever at that point. No pre-sold, no nothing, just specs. We didn't, because then you wouldn't need a showroom, you wouldn't need any of that. But it's a difference. So they're in the suburbs, people care. They want to know who the builder is. In the city, not so much. They don't really care. But in the suburbs, like Peters and them, they want to know who you are, and it's a big deal. So that was
because it's almost like a flex. Hey, I bought my home from Costa.
No doubt,
right? Like
no
Jeff
doubt.
Costa does the best, right? At least in this area, right?
Yeah, he's the authority.
Yeah,
he's been doing it for 30 years.
I went in his office one time when I was looking at building a house, and I was like, wow, this is impressive. Just for a guy just like us that just in the area, just to see his systems and processes that he has over there was impressive. And I know that you because I've seen you guys' showroom, and I know you guys are moving, but I could tell you're headed right down that path, which is gonna be awesome.
It was weird because in between that we were building them houses, I found 8 more lots in Moon, and we bought a few more up there, and Chris gave us another like $550. But
he just do that one at a time? Like, how's that work?
We built all 4 at the same time.
But with $550,000, you can get at least enough started, and you got buyers for those ones then, right? No?
Same thing. We spec'd them again. So I at one point owed Chris like $1.2 million, something like that.
That's all no big deal.
Yeah. So but it was cool because like he pulled me in his office, and he's like, "Listen, guys, your interest is getting at like $15,000 a month. Like I just want to I care about you. I don't want to drown you. I don't want to be the reason why you fail." I'm like, that's a lot of money. But, we were like, nah, we're not going to fail, man. But it got tight, and then that was the thing, that really changed my mind on all this is when you add the variable of the interest payment, it takes the logical thinking out of you and makes it all emotional because you're like, I don't want to make this $15,000 payment next month. Let's just sell these things, I got to get these things sold ASAP. We were lucky that we got a buyer, though, for the first one in Moon, which really helped us. It was weird because we sold our third house before we sold the first 2. But
sold the third house before we sold the first 2. Were they all the same?
Similar floor plans, but all different.
Why'd they buy the third one and not the first one?
It was weird.
Just because
the area was different. Yeah, the 2 are up in Moon, so it was a different area.
Oh, okay. So, but once you started, because I remember that's when I think I first started following you is when you started doing the Moon stuff. Yeah. Probably because that's when you started with the brand, right?
I did, yeah.
Because nobody would have known who you were, knowing what you were doing.
But we also we actually formed the company then. So we realized that, okay, Ryan felt comfortable with me and I felt comfortable with Ryan and Steve felt good. We all felt good. So I'm like, okay, let's officially make this a brand. And we're like, all right, well, cool. Like, how's this come about? And we're like going back and forth on names and all this stuff. And, that's not my specialty. I'm like, all right, let's just get going.
Yeah, should have called me. I love that stuff. That's like my favorite part.
Yeah, it's not my jam.
It's the brand and the marketing and like the That's like the fun part for me.
Yeah, I'm straight operations.
Yeah, no, I hear you. You like dealing with all the crews and you know, making sure that they, you know, timelines get done and pushing them a little bit. You know, and you probably learned that from your dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I bet you, because did your dad grow up in Pittsburgh his whole life? Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's that Pittsburgh mentality I've been noticing since I've lived over here. That's where the work ethic comes from, which is really fascinating. So tell me about the home building process. Like, I'm a customer. Let's talk about it from the ops side. Like, so what do you start with? You get a lot, and then I'm assuming you dig a basement.
Yeah. Are you talking about the building process itself and how it works?
I just want to know the building process from like the behind the scenes.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about from the customer
There's
side.
a lot that goes behind the scenes. So, I mean, first it's calling the townships, figuring out requirements for permits and, you know, sewer setbacks and setbacks of side yards and, you know, figuring out what they require. Is it, you know, storm retention plans? What all do we need to turn into them? Because there's a massive amount of paperwork that's got to go to the township before you even get a permit.
Do you do that before you buy the land or after?
We do it during.
So, like, when you're buying those plots of land up in Moon Township, you kind of already know, like, oh, listen, like, you know, of course, this is not going to be a problem, right? City of Pittsburgh, I would assume, is always a problem, right?
Huge problem.
So, like, you really almost have to get your ducks in a row before you even decide to buy a piece of land. But, like, over in Moon, you're probably like, yeah, no, it's going to be fine. Like, you know, they do this every day. So then you get all that paperwork all done. You feel comfortable with the township. You guys are on the same page. How long does a process does that take?
It can take, I mean, we got pretty bottlenecked recently, but typical process, if you have everything together, is about 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And it's a lot of paperwork.
That's a lot.
So are you a paperwork kind of guy?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
So tell me, your partners are?
No.
No. So how did you guys fight through that?
Oh, it was awful.
Did you have to get help from anybody?
No, Ryan was pretty familiar with the process, but he's not, you know, it's again, when you're wearing all those hats and he's building and dealing with subs and I'm trying to do sales and I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that, and we're all trying to just do a million different things.
No one wants to do the paperwork part, right? I don't even like filling out the applications.
No, it's terrible.
You know what I mean? That's why, like I said, I'll never work for anybody again. At least I won't have to fill out a job application because those things are long, you know?
Yeah, long. And it's, you know, now that we have people to do that for us.
You have it dialed in now. A little bit better, right?
Yeah, a lot better.
Still issues sometimes?
Yes, recently. So Bethel Park was a big problem here recently. Codes changed and they're requiring massive amounts of massive amount more paperwork, engineering. They want engineering plans, grading plans, storm sump plans. I mean, which cost thousands and thousands.
More architectural drawings, right?
Yeah,
engineered drawings,
stamps, which cost thousands and thousands of dollars that we didn't know about. So those are the variables of building.
But like, do you get that money back on when you sell?
No. Because if you they don't tell you about a lot of that up front too. They're not up straightforward about what they require in the beginning until you get into it. We'll submit our paperwork. They're like, oh, okay, well, now we need this plan with an engineered stamp. And we're like, what do you mean engineered stamp? And then we got to send it out, get engineered. That was $4,000. Then they want to do, you know, a test that figures out how much water drains into the ground at how much amount of time. That was $3,700. That's before you even start.
And there's no way to find this stuff out.
Now we know, but the only way you find out is by just going into it, because we called them multiple times and they never brought this up. Not one time.
And it's not like on their website anywhere.
And they're the only place that makes you do that right now.
Interesting.
Only place. Yeah.
So that costs you an extra 10 grand?
Yeah. So you just lost 10 grand for
and you try to sell these houses in Bethel for what, 400, 500?
Pretty much, yeah. 400.
Yeah. So like 10 grand, just poof, gone.
It's gone. You know, so that's the thing. So
but now you know, though.
You do.
So now are you still going to decide will you still build in Bethel, or is it really just not that profitable now because that 10,000?
You have to just include it now and be upfront.
Yeah. So you just bake it into your numbers, and then that way you just make the plan still work. And if it does, it does. You know, if it doesn't, you don't do the deal. Yep. So you get all the permits, you get all the applications, all that stuff. You know, when do I get out there and start digging, man? Like, because I'm assuming that's the first thing you do, right?
And people get very excited, obviously.
Yeah, I'm excited talking about it.
Yeah, when you close, they're like, all right, when we getting started? Are we getting started tomorrow? I'm like, well, hold on now.
Like, where's my shovel? Can I take the shovel with the picture? You know, ribbon cutting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean, for sure. And that's the thing. I mean, we want people to be excited. You know, when you sell a product that's high dollar and it's like this, I mean, it's an emotional process. So, you know, we've understood that along the lines too. And, you know, big thing to you, we've talked is I've taken a lot of you're like customer service. I'm like, oh, Ben is so right. You know, so we've focused on that a lot in 2021 on the customer service end too. You know, obviously when you're doing, you know, we're building between now 10 and 14 houses at a time. You have to be able to manage those clients
People and emotions are important. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned, I've been in customer service since I've been, 16 years old. If you have a great relationship with your client, because problems are always going to happen. We wouldn't be in business if there weren't problems. We're problem solvers, right? Because customer has a problem, in your business, like, hey, they want a brand new house. That's their problem. Like, they want a house, Mama wants a new house. Yep. All right. And daddy's going to go get her a house. You know what I mean? Like, and that's because ain't nobody know how to build their own house.
No, not even close.
I mean, and talking to you, it's like, every house is completely different, their own set of challenges, right? I mean, you're all these moving pieces and parts, but a good client relationship, the better you have up front, there's more forgiveness and grace through challenges and difficulties. And that's what I've learned. And as simple as what we do, we just tear roofs off, put new roofs on. Yep. And there's a ton of challenges with customers, some customers might care about one nail in their driveway. Well, some other customers, they might not even notice that nail, but I still have to treat every single customer, that way they give us a little bit of grace. And we've been lucky enough, and that all starts with hiring the right people. We learned that through, EOS, right people, right seats, but having those core values. And I know we're sidetracking a little bit, but let's get back to the digging. You start to dig the basement, right? Or the sewers, or like what do you?
So it starts with the foundation hole.
Okay.
So the excavator comes out, he'll dig you a hole. It's usually a day, and then next thing you know, you got a giant hole in the ground. Right after that, it's
what do they do with the dirt? Just spread it out everywhere else.
We put it to the side, use it as backfill after we do the foundation, and then if we have anything left after that, it's topsoil at the end.
How long does it take to dig out a basement?
1 day.
Is it just one guy and one truck?
2 guys.
2 guys and two machines. And they just start digging. Did you ever get to play with one of those excavators or digging machines? That's probably fun, huh? Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, early on. I don't even leave the office now, but yeah, early on I was more hands-on out in the field trying to learn the process.
So that's a separate subcontractor, right? Because I mean, none of these home builders have their own people for a lot of this stuff, do they?
Some do, but we don't. So
yeah, because you're not doing it.
If you're a small boutique builder, you do 2 houses a year. You might have machines and stuff like that, and you might do, and that's the business model. I know guys that do 2 houses a year, but they're $4 million houses, and they'll do all of it themselves, and that's their business model. For us, it's more about volume and trying to get it out there.
But like the bigger guys, like Ryan.
Oh, they don't do nothing. They're not selfing anything.
They don't self anything. No. What about like Costa? Like, does he have, like those guys? So like even at that middle level, right? Schumacher, Schumacher's probably big though too now.
They don't do, that's my main competitor.
Really? Yeah. So they were originally from Canton, Ohio. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was a little kid, I would see those big mono houses, and I was dreaming to be like, what would it like to live in one of those houses, Mom?
It's worked out for us though, because it's funny because I've kind of taken all the data, and when we, a customer comes in, it's like, well, we went and seen Schumacher, Perry, Wayne, Costa, and now we're the last guy that they come to because we're the newest. And then we just know that, like, we ask them a ton of questions about what in their process did they not like about each builder. And then I just start jotting that down. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not doing that. Well, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, we can't do that. And, so you start to understand who your niche client is, and you listen to the process and what people like and don't like, and you start to evolve your business around what the people like and don't like. And again, like you said, it comes down to core values, because does your customer meet your core values? Because if you don't have the right customer, this thing's like a 2-year marriage. You will be very miserable for 2 years if the customer doesn't like me and I don't like them.
Yeah, the first year you build it, and then the second year they live there, and any issues you got to come back for, right?
Correct.
So after the hole's dug,
footers and foundations.
So the block guys come in.
No block.
No block.
Walls.
Poured walls. Yep. See, I'm learning.
Yeah. So we
is that what everybody does?
No. So Miranda does block, but
what's the difference between block and poured?
It's an inferior product. So if you look at Pennsylvania as a whole, we all have block walls, but every house in Pittsburgh basically leaks water because block is porous. Water eventually goes through it, pops through, and comes down. So what we do is we bring in solid castings that go around the foundation, and then we pour concrete all the way through it. So it's one continuous pour. There's no seam, no break lines. It's 9 inches thick. There's rebar all through it. I mean, if you get water in this thing, you would have had to have a hell of a monsoon. So it's a better product. It's much more expensive than block. It's about double the price, I would say, and it's way faster though. So we look at it as like, we want to sell a nice product, so we use the better things that go in it. Now, if you think about the production builders like Miranda, so they build 400, 500 houses a year in Pennsylvania. So if they save $6,000 a foundation times 500, you're printing money now.
Yeah.
You know, so
But it takes a lot longer. They have to have more manpower, right?
It takes 2 weeks usually.
And they have to find more manpower. So
Yeah.
and that can be a struggle sometimes. So you get that done, and then what's next?
Backfilling utilities.
Backfilling utilities. So then you're digging out your sewer line and your electric and your power and stuff like that. And is that a little bit simpler than the basement, or?
No, it has its own complications because like the townships, our niche is we come in and usually finish out housing plans that have like 2 or 3 lots left. Well, the township's like, all right, well, your water taps are here. I know they are, but they're never there. So we got to dig all around and find.
So where's
them.
their drawings at?
They're all wrong.
Why don't? But they make you guys have drawings,
and it costs us a ton of money. So then we'll have an excavator that digs, 20 feet this way, 20 feet this way, and then some of these taps are 25 feet down, and it becomes.
So you really are like going on a scavenger hunt, trying to find
a wood stake in the ground that's been there since 1980. It's nuts, man. Yeah, it's building.
And then it's like a high five when you find it. You're like, yeah,
it's the greatest thing ever. Because if not, it's a big problem. I mean, if you can't find the sewer tap or the water tap, I mean, you're in big trouble.
Is the same guy digging that out that dug your basement out?
Yeah.
So that's the digger, right?
Yep.
And that's what he does.
Yep. That's all they do.
And then that gets all, and then the utility guy, the plumber, the sewer guy comes in, right? And then he puts that he hooks up to the main,
Yep.
and then puts it into the house.
Puts the feet in, and then starts running those, and we do the undergrounds. We get those ran, and then the basement floor gets poured. After that, then it starts to get fun, and then you start to get the framers out there.
Yeah,
everybody loves the framing.
Putting drains in the basement. Drains in the basement. Yep. So yeah, you got to do all that right the first time, right? Because no one wants to come back and have to redo that.
All the liabilities underground for sure. All the dangers in the dirt. That's the saying in building. All the dangers in the dirt. So if you hit coal or some bad, we've hit coal. We've had springs under the ground. So we dug down
like water.
Yeah. So we dug down one in Fredericktown. We just finished, and 3 feet down, all of a sudden it was just like, pss, pss, it was just shooting geysers out. But you would never know that unless you dug a test pit. And we always advocate for our clients, you should dig a test pit. It's only $1,500. It could save you $25,000.
So you pass the cost on to a client if you have to do any more work.
You have to.
So that's why it's better to have a client before you start digging.
Yeah.
So, but you're really gambling if you're just building houses that.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you even do that anymore?
No.
No. Why would
Well, we don't do it anymore because I started looking at it. I'm like, all right, no.
That's like gambling.
Well, that and the interest kills you. You know what I mean? So there's that other variable of the interest and all this other stuff. So I'm like, I'm just gonna start pre-selling these. I'm like, I'm pretty good at sales.
Masuka's kids are going to Harvard.
No,
you know what I mean?
I'm like, I'm pretty good at sales. I'll get over here and do this. So, but it was weird. It was a weird transition because I always used to buy properties, not sell properties. So it was a big mental shift for me. Because I was the lead salesperson for 2 years in Hemlock. I sold all of our houses. I did all the design. I did a lot of the, and Ryan collaborated with that, and because his vision's way better than mine. But I'm more of just the sales guy, and setting up that in the showroom and starting to understand the importance of that. But yeah, we got a really good opportunity though. So when we did them specs. Our closing, one of our people that are involved in our circle, he likes to stay quiet, but we built him $1 million house in Wexford, and that really kind of was off to the races. Then that was our first pre-sold, was $1 million house in Wexford.
That's awesome, man. So what's it like to when the customer, the geysers are shooting up?
Oh,
how do you? That's a change order? Is that
big one.
But then how do you how does that customer feel safe? Because I'm thinking as a customer, I have customers. When I change out some bad wood on the roof, they freak out on me.
Yeah, it's
so how do you?
It's engineering, and you got to believe in the process. And again, like I said, it comes down to that relationship. So luckily, I had a really good relationship with them people. I was friends with them. I was in the boat. I'm a big avid boater, so I boated with them for a long time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they were like, we had to get engineered, so we had to do grade beams.
It's a nice marina down there.
Yeah, so we had to do a bunch of different stuff. And
how much extra was that?
26,000.
And how much of a house is what's the total price of the house?
5.
So that's a big chunk, man.
Huge. And here's the thing: you don't see it; it's not tangible.
Yeah, and you can't. I mean, the bank ain't going to give you any extra money for that, right?
Once you close, the bank
change orders are out of your own pocket.
Yep. So that's why we always tell people and there's a change order fee, and there's all these other things that we have in place.
What happens if a customer can't afford it?
Well, that's the thing. So,
because like, I mean, like 20, because I know a lot of people that buy houses that can't really afford it.
no doubt. That's why, that's been the biggest pain in my ass through like COVID, because everyone who's outside a building and doesn't understand, and I'm talking to people about business, they're like, you have to have the escalation clauses. You have to have them in there. I'm like, yeah, but what you don't understand is if I go back to, especially through COVID, because we didn't ask for $1.
Right.
When lumber shot through the roof, I didn't ask for $1. I just ate it.
That's how I am. Me too.
I just ate all of it.
I'm not dealing with as much lumber.
But like, but here's the thing. A lot of builders were going back to the clients saying they need 40, 50 grand because the lumber went up. Well, guess what? Like you said, what if they don't have it? Most people don't.
And then what? It's just a standstill?
No, you're going to court because you're contractually obligated to finish this, but are you going to finish it? So whenever we got, like when COVID hit, was like, we didn't know this was going to happen, obviously. We didn't know lumber was going to shoot 300%. We didn't know any of this stuff, but we already signed 9 houses. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So we made a decision though, because we were, we're super young and we care about our brand and we work super hard for that. I don't want to ruin it by going asking 9 people to give us 50 grand.
Yeah.
So
no, I hear you, man. We don't even use that much wood, but we would start, and the shingle prices went up way up, and I couldn't catch up. I couldn't pass the increases on fast enough, and I was always like 90 days behind on profit margin. It was challenging, very challenging. So the basement's in, and then I'm assuming you start framing, right? Yep. You lay.
It's everyone's favorite phase,
right? Well, that's the part where you can actually see it come to reality, right? The basement's boring because nobody even understands the basement. Like yeah, you could tell me that it's good, and I just have to trust you, right? Yeah. At least I could see the walls, and I can oh, hey, my bedroom's gonna be here. How long does that process take? Couple weeks?
About 7. Depending on the size of the house, but our normal 2,500 square foot houses, you're talking like 9 days.
And then you get all the lumber, like all the lumber just shows up at one time, like just like on a big semi truck, and then they just put it up, and if you took a 2-week vacation and came back, it'd be like, whoa, what the heck?
That was when I realized in the very beginning that this business is scalable. I'm like, oh my God, there's 11 guys up there framing this thing. It's done in 8 days.
That's how I found out roofing was scalable, when more Hispanic crew members were coming into the territory. Because back in the day, 10 years ago, there was a bunch of us up there, and we don't work as fast because we're more Americanized, and we want to go home at 5 o'clock, and
we come with a lot of baggage.
Yeah, a lot of baggage. We got a lot of problems, a lot of personal problems. And I watched these guys do a roof one time, and I was like, dang, they were doing roofs in 1 day when it was taking my guys 3 days.
We use Hispanic guys too.
And I was like, yeah, they whistle while they work. They all get along. They don't fight with each other. They don't walk off jobs. Like, it's like a different culture. You know what I mean? It's the culture that we used to have back in the 50s, I assume. And it's interesting stuff. So once the wood goes up, is there any ever problems? Like, what's the biggest problems with framing?
It can get, so we use, again, it comes back to the products that you use. So we use engineered trusses. So we send out we get a truss design from Salem Millwork. With these trusses are specifically designed for your house. They're not meant for any other house. They're not meant for all this stuff. They're specifically meant for your house. You could stick frame that stuff if you wanted, but the problem is they can twist. You can do all these things. Some guy could fall off. It's, again, when you're craning these things up there, it's a lot safer. It's a better product. It's faster. Yeah. It's more expensive.
Yeah, but it's worth it, right?
But here's the thing. I mean, where you can get into trouble is if when you go through design, when you're designing a home with a person, they want to change it 17 times. So if somebody in the office makes a mistake and sends the wrong drawing to the carpenter, you will have the wrong house built. I mean, no doubt. And then you're going to have to go back and fix it in the field, which is way harder. And it's happened.
Sounds like you've done that before.
It's happened.
Well, how much of a mistake is that? What's that cost?
You're talking probably 10 grand.
10 grand to fix something like that. Does the customer even know? No, you know, because you just start to build it and you're like, oh crap, tear that down, we got to rebuild it.
Yeah. Or you'll have like a gable wrong or something like that. But now we have it pretty dialed in. But we do framing punch outs and checks and all this stuff now. We try and get ahead of the problems. But
I remember my mom and dad built a house in 1991, and it was a split level, and there was 2 roofs, and they were supposed to, one was supposed to go one was supposed to go front to back, and the other one was supposed to go side to side, right? So that way there were some differences. But they did it opposite.
Yeah.
And my mom, and my dad was very particular, and he was ticked, you know what I mean? Then they negotiated something because my parent, I don't know if I have the story right, but back then, my parents barely could afford to buy a new house, but at the time, it was worth it, but there was no extras. They actually were going to build a house without air conditioning because they just wanted a new house, and I don't know what they were thinking. But because of that air, they negotiated the air conditioning.
Good move.
Yeah, they negotiated the air conditioning because it would have probably cost that home builder $5,000, $10,000, like back then to flip it or rack around, right? It's already done, right? So that's easy to just stick in an air conditioning, right? So like, those are the types of things that happen in the home building process that nobody ever markets that.
The custom building side gets challenging. So it's managing selections and managing a lot of things, because you come into our office, you pick everything all the way down to the handles, the knobs, I mean, every single thing of the house. And as you get into it, I mean, you got to really dial in details and all these things to make sure. And you have to have someone who's there to, manage that selections process, and then make sure now, like, we're moving my office administrator into a selections coordination role, because selections is its own monster.
Oh, yeah. I could only imagine.
It's insane.
So
especially with lead times now.
So after the house gets framed, what happens next? Roof?
Yeah, so the roof goes on.
Okay, I would hope so, because you want to keep everything dry.
Yeah, we want to dry. So the goal is to essentially, dry the house in, where it's windows, doors, all that, roof's on, it's watertight, and then you get into mechanicals.
What happens to the house? Because I've always wondered this. You build it. It rains for 3 or 4 days. There is no roof on, right? Like customers ever ask you, "Hey man, my wood's getting wet. My wood's getting wet."
All the time.
So how do you handle that?
It's it's all pressure treated wood, so it's not a big deal. But we use a really nice underlayment like you guys do, I'm sure, and you can let it sit out for a couple days and be fine.
But I'm talking about even before you're framing it, all that wood gets wet. You know what I mean? Like it's
listen, it is what it is. It all dries anyways.
All right, I'm just curious because like I've always wondered, like
your house is going to shrink. So when you build a house, your house is going to shrink between 1 inch to 3 inches anyway. So the concrete's going to dry out and the wood's going to dry out and the house is going to do this. It's going to start contracting, and then that's when you get the drywall pops and the cracks in the wall. I mean that's kind of all typical. We do 11-month punch out at that after you buy it to come and fix that, But
then once it's fixed, it's usually not going to move anymore, right?
It's pretty much done.
So after the roof goes on, then what do you start with?
Mechanicals.
So you're bringing all your plumbing, your HVAC systems, your electrical.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yep.
Did I miss anything?
No, it's a pretty quick phase. So it's HVAC. It goes HVAC, plumbing, and then the electrician.
And those guys love it. New construction's got to be the best for them. They hate ripping out walls. There's no walls to rip out. You just boom, 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 and it's just like it's all beautiful. Yep. And then you have inspections during.
You have about 8 inspections during the whole process. Every phase gets inspected. You have underground inspections. You have wall inspections. You have framing inspections.
They're usually pretty quick to get out there when you call them.
Yeah, most places.
And you walk around.
Not city of Pittsburgh.
Someone from Hemlock just walks around with them to make sure they're not going to like. Yep. And then you guys just solve any issues, anything that they want fixed. You kind of just deal with. And
we do a lot of energy models too, because you have to have. So in PA, you have to have a certain efficiency level in your homes to keep the the energy in there.
Awesome. So mechanicals get in. What happens next?
Insulation and drywall.
Insulation and drywall. And that's 2 separate contractors. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you guys blow in insulation? Or are you guys putting in
spats? We do roll in and we do blow in the attic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the drywall comes in. Yeah. That's those guys probably work as fast as the Amish guys building it. I mean, a lot of drywall, right?
A lot of drywall. This is whenever this is whenever the client really starts really understand.
Well, yeah, because you can't see through all the rafters and all like the holes. It's like it just looks like a big maze. Like I don't even know where anything is. Then
it can open up challenges though, because same thing. They're like, oh, I'm not happy with my size of my master bedroom. I'm like, oh.
So what do you do? Because like that, you're right. Because that's a lot of emotions, man. This is someone's house.
Oh, for sure.
Listen, there's so many emotions in just a roof. I mean, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine. Like that's why I always tell people I don't do inside work. Like
that's all we do.
People are too picky.
Yeah.
People are super picky. So you just have to manage the expectations, and you kind of almost set that up. That's why you probably triple ask. Hey, are you sure this is as big as you want your bedroom? I know you're trying to save some money, but like we found a lot of our customers, they really like a bigger bedroom. Mm-hmm. And you say it 3 or 4 times. You even have to get them to sign, hey, I picked a smaller bedroom. Like you start scaring them, and then they might not sell it. You might not sell anything though.
Yeah, you got to be careful on a lot of that stuff. We try and offer up like, hey, we do these things, and there's one at the mall. You shines this light down. It basically has the floor plan on the ground. You can kind of feel the size of it. Not everyone wants to spend the money to do that, but you can walk through it, bring a bed in, and kind of feel like.
Wait, say that again?
Yeah, so up in, what's that mall up on 28?
Pittsburgh Mills?
Yeah, Pittsburgh Mills. So they have this, it's called I can't remember what it's called now, but they shine a projector down and you send them the floor plan, and they have this room where they shine the whole entire floor plan on the ground, and you can walk it.
So it's just a big empty warehouse.
Big empty room, and you can walk the house and the floor plan. You can drag beds in and furniture, and you can feel the size of the room. They can feel the size of the kitchen, and make sure it's really for them, because
what's that cost a customer to do? That's pretty cool.
It's like $500 an hour.
Yeah, but how many hours do you need? Have you ever done it?
Yeah, 3 times.
How long do you spend there?
Like an hour and a half.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let my customer buy a house without doing that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd bake that right in, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'd already make. Oh no, that's part of the sales process. Yeah. They got to do. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's been cool. We've been trying to do a lot of that stuff to where they can really understand like what's the size of this garage, what's the size of this room, what's the size. This is okay for the kids.
Yeah.
Yep, closet size, everything.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's technology in action.
No doubt. It's like metaverse.
Yeah. We can do a whole podcast about our NFT metaverse stuff. So you get the drywall up. What's after that? Insulation and drywall. And then when paint?
Yep, goes into finishes. So we roll right into finishes.
Are you doing exterior stuff at the same time? Because are you doing siding and brick and like?
It's all simultaneous now. So what we try and do is,
because those guys can be working on the outside, where guys working on the inside.
From drywall to finish, we try and do 8 weeks. So from drywall to completion tries to be 8 weeks. But to do that, again, you have to have all the materials on site. That's been the challenge. So cabinets, trim, all that stuff has to be there. Flooring, everything. The tile guys got to be lined up. So as soon as the prime paint goes on after drywall, we want the tile guys in there. I want the trim guys going on. I want all the trim there at the same time, cabinets, all that, so that our trim guys can come and do everything all at one time. Then the flooring guys come back in, and then now you're getting into just punch out. But it starts to really fly after drywall.
So like when you do like the exterior, are you doing, I haven't really looked at a ton of, you seem like you do all kinds of different houses, right? So you do a little bit of brick, you do a little bit of, do you do any vinyl, or are you doing all hardy? Or
do a lot of vinyl.
Vinyl, and then you do
That's the entry level.
You do some hardy?
Yeah. We just did 20.
And then the guy that's doing your siding, doing your softening fascia and all that, finishing out. And then
gutter guys are coming.
Then you put the gutter guys in at the end, probably, right? Then do you hire your dad to do the landscaping?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
That was like his gift for like you leaving,
Well, the thing is too, is like, I just want to, like, my thing is my whole goal with my dad is I want to make sure that he understands like the importance of what the relationship is between me and him. So like my whole goal is like, I've always wanted to make him super proud of me. So like when I was younger, I did a bunch of stupid shit and like was not the.
We all did.
Yeah, I was not the most ideal son for a while, but now it's kind of cool because he gets to see every single house that we build, because he's the guy coming at the very end, and I'm like, all right, you might not tell me you're proud of me, but you're gonna see all these houses. I'm gonna make you. Yeah. So it's been like
he probably tells you everything that's wrong with the house. Yeah. He's probably like a project manager, like that you don't have to actually pay for. He's like, Bryan, why didn't you do it like this over here? Hey, why didn't you do it like that over here?
It's been awesome though, because you don't have to manage him. He's 34 years in the game. He shows up 2 days, boom, boom, he's done. The clients love him. And
now, do you sell different levels of landscaping packages?
So I allow them, the customer themselves, to deal directly with my dad, and then whatever my dad sells to them, I get a little piece back off my initial, budget.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, that's cool. What and then so everything, the flooring gets done, the paint, the cabinets. What are we? And then you just go in and you put the appliances in, and
we do everything. So our
customers buying all that stuff ahead of time, picking it all out. Do you have to help them pick all that stuff out? Or do they go pick it out?
I try and push them towards our appliance vendors like Voss and Best Buy, but we're extremely hands on. That's what I've been trying to provide the value in the last year, is like, this is what you get with Hemlock outside of a house. You get us walking the site with you. You get us before you even buy it. We're showing you how to lay out the house. We're telling you the pros and cons to these lots.
How many in-person meetings are there with a customer from the time that they first call you about wanting to explore the process to the time that,
It's probably 7 or 8.
7 or 8 physical meetings and then a bunch of phone calls, probably, right?
Tons of phone calls.
Do you have a weekly meeting with a customer, like a weekly check-in? Is there where you just...
Our sales guy does now, but it's basically it's the sales. So the lead comes in, it goes over to the sales guy. He puts it into Asana. then his job is to get them to come to our office. So what we do in that meantime, we send them out a questionnaire, which is about 4 pages, basically getting all the information from them that they can provide for us. And then they get it back. So what that does is it allows us to get a good grasp on, what housing plan we should align them with, what floor plan works for them, we think, and being prepared for the meeting. Because I'm trying to limit the amount of meetings that we have to have. I mean, I really am. Like it can get really drunk out, but we're looking to try and best service the client by getting information up front and figuring out how to service them. So, and then his goal is to get him in the office. And then I kind of do the whole speed, and we go through and show selections, and we introduce the team and, put a face to a name and really get that hands-on vibe and let you know why we're different than Costa and Schumacher and Wayne and Perry. And, those are basically all my competitors.
Yeah, that's good stuff. What's the biggest challenge that you still have to overcome in the building process? Like
fluctuating materials and lead times. So the prices go up and prices go down. So let's just say like this: I sell a house,
January 1st.
January 1st. I put flooring in March. It might be $2 a square foot more. And the whole first floor is 2,000 square feet. So I just lost $4,000. There's so many variables to this right now.
When they execute the contract, can you not just order everything on day 2 and then tell me why?
Well, because you'd have to have a massive warehouse to store everyth,ing, and then 2, you
can't buy it and have the people hold it. Really?
No. So you'd have to have them. They'll hold it for a little bit, but not for months.
So if I sign a contract with Hemlock, when can I expect them to be breaking ground?
Right now, probably March 1st.
So it's 60 days.
Yep.
60 days you're breaking ground. Yep. And then another 30 days to get the foundation and everything in?
It's about 30 days to get through foundation and everything like that.
And then another 60 days to do like the rest?
Yeah, so through COVID, we were at 7 or 8 months build time. 2022, our goal is to get to 5 months. And the only way to do that is by getting materials there.
What's the other guys do? Is everybody around 6 months to a year?
No, a year for sure. Cost is...
He's doing a lot of high-end custom, right? And he's probably, his when you sell $1 million house, right? It's easier to get the customer to probably wait, because then you're like, hey, they're probably selling the quality, right?
Yeah, we're built for speed, so that's been the cool thing about my office.
People want their house, man.
Yeah,
like no one wants.
They want their house.
I was looking at a house last year. And the thing I couldn't get around is first of all, the COVID thing was really scary to me, because I'm thinking I know everyone's going to tell me 6 months to a year, but I said, well, what happens when something else happens? I'm locked in. I'm an impatient person. And I'm like, man, I don't want to wait. And then you're going to wait, and then you're stuck. Once you sign and once you're halfway through, you're at the mercy of the builder and of all the products.
Well, they take big. Some of the builders take big deposits, man. Huge. I mean, I know Benjamin Marcus takes 10% of full price. So if it's $1.2 million, it's
but I also understand why.
Yeah, because there's a lot of time.
As a business owner, you don't want to do something and then the customer wiggle out, or the customer be like, oh, I changed my mind. Oh, we're moving. Oh, whatever. And if you don't have a deposit, it's a partnership, right?
Yeah.
It's a partnership.
And our cash flow swings are crazy. I
wouldn't want to be managing your books. That's for sure. It's hard enough in the roofing business, and it's pretty simple. We have material, we have labor, and we have the administrative costs, and we try to keep it really simple here, so that way we can focus more on delivering great customer service. But yeah, I couldn't imagine what it's like to manage the financials of a home building company. We could do a whole podcast on that, I'm sure.
That's been my big focus through 2021, is my main focus in 2022.
So I wanted to talk about that. What's your vision for the future? What are your goals? What's we both like EOS. What's your 10-year goal?
10-year goal is Hemlock. It's about 30 million.
How many houses is that? About 60 houses, 50 houses?
Mm-hmm. I want to stabilize at 50.
50 houses a year.
Yep.
All right.
3-year goal is 25 million, then stabilize at 30 after that. Yeah. So we're shooting for 10.5 million in 2022. We did just under 8 million in this year.
That's awesome, man.
And we have the remodeling company too, so that helps us cash flow wise.
Yeah, and when I know we didn't get a chance to talk about that, that's what you're mainly doing: kitchens and baths. Are you doing additions or not?
No additions. Kitchens, baths, basements, and decks, and custom trim work.
So anybody that wants to remodel their home and wants it done right,
it's a whole other division of our company.
Yeah,
so,
but but it's like half of like what the other company is, right? Because you still got to pick out all the finishes and all the cool stuff, and it's fun. I'm sure it's a little bit of a different process because people are living there, and it's so that the emotions can
customer service.
It's even more customer service when they're living there, and you get Dusty in the house. What else are you passionate about? Like other than Hemlock Homes, like what else are you into?
Oh, boating, man. I'm a huge boater. I love it. I've been a wakeboarder for the last 13 years, man. I love the water.
I see you on Facebook every once in a while doing some cool tricks and stuff like that. I'm
quad riding, all the outdoor stuff. My kids got into it, so my daughters ride quads and stuff, so we have a great time.
How old are your kids?
6 and 4.
That's cool. How long you been married?
Just had 8 years anniversary.
That's cool. Yeah. Does she like being married to a businessman, an entrepreneur? Because that's a tough grind.
Oh, it's been tough.
That's good.
We've had to evolve our relationship over the years.
Anything else that you're passionate about as far as like pursuing other opportunities in business or anything like that?
Yeah, I just love business. I love the evolution of the grind. So like I love the way up the ladder. I built a lot of different things over the years, but I've never enjoyed the process. Now I'm enjoying the process. I mean, obviously money can get tight, things are chaotic, but I'm just enjoying the process, especially with Hemlock, because where we're at now is something I never thought we would be able to do in a short amount of time that we've been able to.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you having coming to the show today. I have 5 questions that I asked every guest, kind of rapid fire. Sure. What's your favorite book?
Traction.
I've got a bunch of those copies here. What's your favorite movie?
Oh man, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't even really watch movies too much.
But did you watch any movies when you were a kid or back in the day? Like we all watched movies back in the day.
I actually really love Collateral Beauty, Will Smith. It's
Collateral Beauty.
Yeah,
there we go.
One of my favorite movies.
All right, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I don't think I've seen that. What's your favorite travel destination?
Florida.
Any specific part?
Orlando.
All right. I was just down there. Took Sammy to Universal Studios and Legoland. That was cool. Yeah, your kids are right at that age, man. Yeah, that'll be fun. Universal is a blast.
Yeah, we love it.
Favorite restaurant?
Hyde Park.
Me and Sammy go there too. I love the French fries on the cone. Get the steak.
It's that Malkin, man. Got to get that Malkin.
Get the Gino.
Shout out to Alexander. He put me on the Malkin.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get Alex on the show. And who is your favorite person in the entire world? Whether it be someone famous, whether it be like someone you look up to, like it could be anybody. Who's the favorite person?
My dad, no doubt, hands down.
Awesome.
I've never, my relationship with him has been, since we even left each other, has been so much better. We just kick business knowledge back and forth now. So it's an absolute blessing.
It's awesome when you finally feel like you're doing good by your parents' eyes, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the greatest feeling.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
for coming here.
Thank you.
Looking for big things for you in the future, man.
Thank you for listening to the Big Fish Cares podcast.